All right, what's going on, y'all? So today we're going to talk about how to lose fat fast with a mini cut. So a mini cut is going to be slightly different than your more traditional cuts. A traditional cut is typically 8 weeks, 12 weeks, even 16 weeks or longer, and it's meant to allow you to do things a bit more gradually. You're not going to have to, right off the bat be extremely aggressive with cardio or dropping your calories. It's going to allow you to slowly pull your fat off over time, but it is a longer cut. A mini cut is typically anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, but it's more of an aggressive cut. You're going to do things a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be a little bit more of an intensive cut, but it's going to pull fat off your body really quickly. It's only going to be for a shorter period of time, like 4 to 6 weeks. There's a couple different reasons why you'd want to go ahead and do a mini cut. First is the obvious. You want to essentially slim down, pull the fat off your body as quick as possible. This could be for, you going on vacation. You want to be ready for vacation in 4 to 6 weeks. It could be you've got a photo shoot coming up, all of that. You're not going to want to go ahead and do a mini cut though if you're trying to get on stage for, say, a bodybuilding competition. That's where a more traditional cut is going to be more applicable here. But if you have kind of that more emergency, I got to get fat off my body, a mini cut can be perfect for that. The other reason you might want to do a mini cut is if you are in a period of growth. You're trying to, say, take a year, even longer than a year, to bulk up, put on a lot of muscle mass. Once you reach a certain body fat percentage, that process becomes pretty inefficient. You start putting on a lot more fat than you are muscle. So doing a mini cut can go ahead and resensitize your body, get you more insulin sensitive to where you can go ahead and pull the fat off your body a little bit to allow you to then go right back into a bulk. So a lot of times what you do is you go ahead, you might bulk for, say, 12 weeks, and then you might do a 4-week mini cut and then go back into another 12-week bulk. And this allows you to extend an off-season period to where you are focusing on putting on muscle mass for a greater amount of time. But no matter what the reason is that you're wanting to do a mini cut, whether it's to just drop fat as fast as possible to get ready for a vacation or a photo shoot, or you're trying to extend your off season or your bulk, I'm going to go ahead and tell you how to set up your diet, how I do this with myself and my clients to go ahead and pull off very successful mini cuts. All right, so the first step that you want to do is you want to go ahead and find what your maintenance calories are. So your maintenance calories are, the amount of calories it takes for you to essentially maintain your body weight, maintain the physique you currently have. You want to go ahead and take 1 to 2 weeks to go ahead and do this. So what I suggest is for that 1 to 2 week period, go ahead and get up, go pee, and then get on the scale and go ahead and track your scale weight. And then do that for 2 weeks. And then you can kind of average out the scale weights over that 2 weeks, and you can see, are you dropping weight, are you gaining weight, or are you staying about the same? If you're staying about the same, that's your new, that's your maintenance. And that's kind of going to be our starting point to where then we're going to be able to pull from that to start the mini cut. If you have no clue what your maintenance calories are, you can go ahead and use a free online total daily expenditure tool to go ahead and find out kind of a rough measurement of what that is. A lot of times these aren't super accurate, but it'll give you a ballpark range of what your maintenance could be, and then you can go ahead and use the scale weight over the 2 week period to see how far off you are. If you come into where you're actually like dropping a little bit of weight over those 2 weeks, you underestimated what your maintenance is, that's fine. You're already kind of starting the cutting process. If you come in a little bit over, then we know that, if you're gaining, say, a pound over those 2 weeks, we're only going to have to pull a little bit of calories to have you at maintenance. But take that 1 to 2 weeks to go ahead, weigh yourself every morning. And, if you need to have a ballpark range, definitely use one of those free online calculators. It'll get you at least close to what your maintenance is. So once you have your maintenance, we're going to go ahead and start setting up our macros. So the very big macro we want to go ahead and cover right off the bat is protein. You want to keep protein as a focal point. Having enough protein in your diet, this is going to be more satiating, because with the mini cut, it is going to be a little bit more aggressive. You're going to have a little bit more hunger. Having more actual chewable protein in your diet is going to be more satiating, but a big part of this, and this is the biggest reason for having the protein, is it's going to keep you anti-catabolic, meaning that as you're dropping the fat, you're going to be holding as much muscle mass as possible. One of the greatest determinants of how much muscle mass you'll actually hold during a cut, whether that's a mini cut or a traditional cut, is your gym performance. If you start pulling your protein, a lot of times your strength is going to go really quick. So we don't want to pull protein here. Some of you might actually need to go ahead and increase your protein in the cut, but this is where I suggest having at least a gram per pound of body weight per day of protein, all the way up to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. I personally am closer to the 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. I do believe that's overkill for a lot of people out there, but depending on where you currently have it set, how much protein you like in your diet, all of that, I would stick between 1 gram to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight per day while cutting. All right, so now let's go ahead and cover fats. So if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I personally recommend low-fat diets. Even when bulking, I keep my fats in a low to moderate range, but when cutting, I really pull fats. If you start pulling dietary fats to an extent, this will really help you pull actual body fat off your body, and it's going to allow you to have more carbohydrates in your diet, which is going to lead to better gym performance. You start pulling your carbs from your diet, this is where a lot of times your gym performance, your strength starts to dip, and that's where then you also start catabolizing your muscle, losing some muscle in a cut. So this is where one of the first things I suggest is to go ahead and start pulling fats. Now, good range to put your fats, and this is going to be on the lower end, but keep your fats between 15% and 20% of your total daily calories. Some of you might need a little bit more than that. You might do a little bit better with fats, but even with a cut, I suggest to very few people out there to be over 25% of your daily total calories coming from dietary fat. Like I said, I personally recommend for most people, if you're cutting and you are trying to have an aggressive cut, keep your fats between 15% and 20% of your total daily calories. All right, so then that leaves the last macronutrient, which is carbohydrates. So you're basically going to fill in the rest of your total calories that you need for that day of carbs. And we're going to talk about how to know how many calories to actually have per day. But this could be anywhere from 50 grams per day all the way up to 400 plus, depending on your size, your metabolism, your activity level, all of that. But this is where essentially after you figured out your protein, you figured out your fat, all the rest of it should come from carbs. I personally like to keep my carbs as high as possible because this is where your gym performance is going to come from. Carbs are way more anabolic than fat, and keeping your gym performance up is what's going to hold on to the most amount of muscle mass as you go ahead and you go through this cut. As you're going through the cut, even if it's a 4-week mini cut, if you start pulling carbs, you want to go ahead and do that from meals outside of your pre, intra, and post-workout meals. So once you have your good pre, intra, and post-workout nutrition set up, and you should have quite a bit of carbohydrates set up around those meals, you can go ahead and start pulling the amounts from the other meals first. So let's say you're eating 5 meals per day, you might want to go ahead and pull carbs from meal 2 and then carbs from meal 4 if your pre-workout meal is, say, meal 3. You go ahead and pull carbs from the meals that are furthest away from your workout first before you start dipping into those pre, intra, and post-workout carbs. This is going to allow you to keep your gym performance as high as possible for as long as possible. Now, we're talking about a mini cut here, which is 4 to 6 weeks long, not a traditional, say, long bodybuilding cut like 8 to 16 weeks. So gym performance shouldn't dip too hard, but you are going to have a greater deficit. And a lot of times you're going to have more cardio in than you would, say, on a more traditional cut. So you absolutely could still lose gym performance if you don't have this set up right. So that's where I suggest going ahead and pulling from fats first, keeping as many carbs as possible around your pre, intra, and post workout before you start pulling from that. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about how many calories you should actually be having during this mini cut. So a traditional cut, a general rule of thumb is you're wanting to lose about 1 pound to 2 pounds per week. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be a little bit less depending on your body composition, but that's typically the general rule of thumb is to lose 1 pound to 2 pounds per week. This is where many people suggest putting yourself in a 500 calorie per day deficit. So if your maintenance is, say, 3,000 calories per day, you're going to go ahead and put yourself down to 2,500, and that's going to allow you to burn 1 pound of fat per week. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So if you're going ahead and you're putting yourself in a 500 calorie per day deficit, you're going to be burning roughly 1 pound of fat per week. With mini cuts, we're going to do things a bit more aggressive. A mini cut's a shorter period of time meant to burn as much fat as possible in the quickest amount of time possible. And this is where many times you can have a deficit of, say, 750 all the way to 1,500, sometimes even longer, even greater, depending on where you're at, your body composition, all of that. But it's typically between 750 to 1,500 calories per day in a deficit. So going back to point number 1 of finding your maintenance, once you know your maintenance, then you can go ahead and shave off the calories from there. This is definitely not something that you're going to want to run a long time. If you are, say putting yourself in 1,000 per day calorie deficit, you're not going to want to do that for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, because you will start catabolizing your muscle. You're going to start slowing down your metabolism, all that. But for 4 to 6 weeks, you absolutely can be aggressive with this. Now, a couple points here is with the mini cut, you need to be locked in that this is your goal. For the next 4 to 6 weeks, you are going to have the main goal of trying to shed as much body fat as possible, because since you are in a greater deficit, you're going to be hungry. That's what comes along with the mini cut. Traditional cut, you can do things a bit more gradual, and until you get to, say the shredded level, it's not going to be that painful. But, with the mini cut, even right off the bat, a lot of times you're going to go ahead and feel it. Now, you should still have higher energy. Like I said, this is only for 4 to 6 weeks, so you're not going to dip down to the 3 to 4% body fat that's going to cause you to feel like crap. But you absolutely could still feel your gym performance fall off, hunger, and just have a lot more cravings and all of that. So that brings me to the next point of you want to try to clean up your diet as much as possible during this time. A lot of times just cutting out some junk you have in your diet, whether that's snacks around the house, sodas, whatever, a lot of times cutting that out, that's already going to equate to you cutting out a few hundred calories or more, and it's already going to allow you to start shedding off body fat from there. But the more you clean up your diet, one, it's going to allow you to have more volume of food to where you're more satiated, you're not going to be as hungry, and it's going to allow you to hit your goals a lot more efficiently than if you were filling it with more just junk trying to hit your macros. You want to try to limit your cheat meals during this time. If your goal is to get ready for the beach, get ready for a photo shoot, or just frankly try to resensitize for your next bulk you're going into, you do want to limit the cheat meals, because a cheat meal, say you've only got 4 weeks to do this, a cheat meal is going to put you behind for a few days. I'm not saying go through the entire mini cut with no cheat meals, but if you've been doing, say, a couple cheat meals a week or even a cheat meal a week, you might want to go ahead and turn that into, say, only 2 cheat meals for the entire 4-week period. And you could have a refeed in there. Definitely check out my video on cheat meals, cheat days, and refeeds. A refeed is a great tool to have in your mini cut. You could go ahead and replace all your cheat meals with just carbohydrate refeeds, and that's definitely the most efficient way to go about doing this. But that's personally how I like setting up my diets, my clients' diets for mini cuts. Like I said, it's a more aggressive cut. It's a 4 to 6 week period where you're just going all out, trying to burn as much fat as possible, drop the weight, and it'll allow you to, get ready for the beach, or, get ready for a photo shoot, get ready for your next bulking period, whatever. But it's a short period of time that you're aggressive with, your diet. And then also you might want to be adding in some more cardio during this time. I don't suggest going ahead, ramping up your training volume a ton, because that can put you a little bit in a hole. But if you're not using any cardio, or you currently are using some cardio, you might want to go ahead and ramp up that. That's going to put you even in a greater deficit and help you shave off more fat. But this is how I like setting up my diets. I hope you guys got something out of this video. The mini cut question is something that I get quite frequently, and this is how I like to do it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions down below. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.